Cowboy met Apache beneath a dying oak, and the gift Apache offered unveiled an impossible truth. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Sam Carson, a cowboy, had lived a life of solitude for many years. His ranch sat in the middle of the harsh, unforgiving wilderness, surrounded by the vast desert that stretched endlessly in every direction. Sam had once been part of a bustling community, but the loss of his family and the passing of time had slowly pushed him into isolation. He had made peace with the silence, the long days spent under the harsh sun, and the cold nights beneath the stars. Life had become a routine, one that brought him no joy, but also no pain. Until one fateful day, when everything changed. It was late afternoon, and Sam was walking along the dusty trail near his ranch, checking the perimeter of his property when he spotted something unusual. A figure, barely visible from a distance, approached him through the tall grass. At first, Sam thought it was just the wind playing tricks, but as the figure drew nearer, he realized it was a woman. Her gait was slow, as if each step was a struggle. As she came closer, Sam could see that she was an Apache woman, her clothes torn and worn from what seemed like days of travel. Her face was bruised, her hair tangled with dirt and sweat, but her eyes held a fire Sam couldn't quite understand. She stopped a few feet from him, her breath shallow and labored. Sam instinctively stepped back, his hand resting on the rifle slung over his shoulder. The woman's gaze never wavered. "I need your help," she said in a calm but strained voice. Sam hesitated, unsure of what to do. The world he knew was filled with suspicion and mistrust between his kind and the Apache people, but something in her voice told him she wasn't a threat. She extended her hand towards him, a small leather pouch clutched tightly in her fingers. "I have something to give you," she continued, her voice barely a whisper. Sam felt a mix of curiosity and caution stir within him, but he took a step forward, reaching out to accept the pouch. It was lighter than he expected, and the smell of herbs and something else, something ancient, filled the air as he touched it. "This is from my tribe," she said, her words slow but deliberate. "It's for you." Sam's heart raced. He had never been one to take gifts from strangers, especially not from those he had been taught to view with suspicion. But as he held the pouch, he felt a strange warmth spread through him, a sense of calm he hadn't felt in years. The woman took a deep breath, and for a moment, Sam thought she might collapse. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "I have to go now." And with that, she turned and started to walk away. Sam stood frozen, staring at her retreating figure, unsure of what had just happened. Before he could process his thoughts, she stopped, turned back, and looked at him one last time. "The gift I gave you, it will change everything," she said softly, her voice carrying a weight that sent a chill down his spine. Sam watched as she disappeared into the distance, leaving him standing alone under the dying oak tree, the pouch still in his hand. He wasn't sure what it was, but something deep within him knew that his life, the life he had carefully constructed in the desert, would never be the same again. Sam stood there for a long while, staring at the spot where the Apache woman had vanished into the brush. The pouch in his hand felt warmer than it should have, almost as if it had a life of its own. He shook his head, trying to clear the strange thoughts that seemed to cloud his mind. It had been a long time since he had interacted with anyone, let alone someone from the Apache tribe. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the land, and Sam knew he needed to return to his cabin before nightfall. But something about the encounter stayed with him, gnawing at the back of his mind. He had been taught all his life to avoid the Apache, to be wary of their ways, but this woman, her presence had been different. Her eyes, filled with a sense of determination and calm, had unsettled him in a way he couldn't explain. He turned the pouch over in his hands once more. The scent inside it was faint but unmistakable: sage, herbs, and something ancient. It felt as though it carried the weight of generations of Apache ancestors. Sam took a deep breath, glancing around his land, the empty horizon stretching before him. He felt a sudden pull, an unspoken connection to something he couldn't quite grasp. Without another word to himself, he tucked the pouch into his jacket and began the walk back to his cabin. The evening air grew cooler as he reached his front porch, and he paused for a moment to look out at the vast wilderness that had become his world. He had once dreamed of adventure, of finding something greater than this quiet, solitary life. But now, years later, it seemed like the world had passed him by. The cabin was small, but it was all he needed. He had built it with his own hands, and it had provided him with shelter from the harsh winters and scorching summers. Sam had no need for more. He was content, or at least he had told himself he was. As he stepped inside, the familiar smell of wood and dust greeted him. The hearth was cold, the fire long since burned out. He set the pouch down on the table and went to tend to the fire, his movements automatic. But his mind kept drifting back to the woman, to the way she had spoken with such quiet authority, as though she knew something he didn't. Something that could change his life forever. The crackling of the fire broke his reverie, and Sam let out a slow breath. He glanced at the pouch again. What did she mean by that? He muttered to himself. What did she give me? Sam reached for the pouch once more, his fingers brushing the soft leather. Inside, he could feel something small and hard against his palm, something that had not been there before. Carefully, he untied the pouch, his heart pounding in his chest. As he pulled the contents out, he saw a small pendant, a simple circle of silver, engraved with symbols that were unfamiliar to him. It was beautiful in its simplicity, yet there was something deeply mysterious about it. As his fingers traced the intricate markings, a sudden wave of warmth surged through him, like a rush of energy flowing from the pendant itself. Sam's breath caught in his throat as his vision blurred for a moment. He saw flashes, images of the desert, of people long gone, of battles fought and promises made. The sensation passed as quickly as it came, leaving Sam with an overwhelming sense of awe and confusion. He stumbled back, his mind racing. What in God's name is this? He whispered. The pendant seemed to hum with an energy that was unlike anything he had ever felt before. For a moment, he considered throwing it away, dismissing it as nothing more than a strange trinket from a woman he didn't know. But something told him that this was no ordinary gift. It had purpose. It had meaning. And it was now a part of his life, whether he wanted it to be or not. Sam could feel the weight of it in his hand, the weight of something much larger than himself. His mind raced with questions, but for the first time in years, he felt a spark of hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, the world had more to offer him than the quiet, lonely life he had settled for. That there was something out there worth fighting for. He had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: his life was about to change, and there was no going back. Sam sat by the fire that night, staring at the pendant in his hands. The warmth from the flames flickered across the silver, casting shadows on the walls of his cabin. He had never believed in fate, but something about this pendant felt like it was meant for him, like it was part of a story he had yet to understand. The images from earlier, those fleeting visions of the desert, the battles, the promises, kept playing in his mind, like fragments of a dream he couldn't fully grasp. He had never been one for superstition, but the strange energy that surged through him when he touched the pendant was undeniable. The soft creak of the wood floor interrupted his thoughts as he stood up, pacing the cabin. His boots left small impressions on the floorboards, but they quickly disappeared, like the fleeting thoughts that clouded his mind. He didn't know why, but he felt a pull, a call, to leave his cabin and follow the path that seemed to be laid out before him. Sam knew that his life in this quiet, isolated place was over. The gift that the Apache woman had given him wasn't just a symbol. It was a key, a doorway into something bigger. The question was, where did it lead? He could feel it deep in his chest, the sense that something was about to change, that a storm was coming. Whether he was ready for it or not, Sam had no choice but to face what lay ahead. He looked back at the pendant one last time before tucking it safely into his pocket. The fire crackled in the hearth, and for a brief moment, he considered staying, letting the world pass him by, like it had for so many years. But he knew better. The world had a way of finding people, whether they were ready or not. And tonight Sam was ready. The wind howled outside as he grabbed his coat and stepped into the night, his footsteps silent on the cold earth. The desert stretched before him, dark and endless. He didn't know what he was walking toward, but he could feel it, the pull of destiny, the weight of the past, and the promise of something new. As Sam made his way through the night, the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, like they were guiding him, telling him that he was not alone. The journey ahead would not be easy, but he would not turn back. Whatever awaited him out there, whatever truth the pendant held, he would face it head on, because he knew one thing for certain: this was the beginning of something far bigger than he could have ever imagined. And it all started beneath a dying oak, with a gift from an Apache woman that would change everything. Sam walked through the wilderness, the chill of the night air biting at his skin. The stars overhead were bright, and he could feel them guiding him, though he didn't know where the path would lead. His footsteps were the only sound, breaking the silence that surrounded him. He had left the cabin without a clear destination, driven by an instinct he didn't fully understand. The gift the Apache woman had given him was burning a hole in his pocket, and the weight of it made him feel like he was carrying the world on his shoulders. He had never been one for fate, but this felt different. The pendant was a mystery, and he could not shake the feeling that it held the answers to questions he hadn't even known to ask. The wind picked up, rustling the dry grass as Sam continued walking, his mind racing with thoughts of the woman. He couldn't help but wonder about her, who she was, where she came from, and why she had chosen him. The Apache people had always been a mystery to him, their ways so different from his own. Yet she had trusted him with something so precious. He paused for a moment, letting the wind wash over him, and looked out at the horizon. The vastness of the desert before him seemed to stretch on forever, the land untouched and raw, just like the feelings inside him. He had spent years avoiding connections, burying his emotions deep inside, but now, with the pendant in his pocket, he felt as if something was stirring within him. He couldn't ignore it. His life had been one of solitude, but now, it seemed as though he was being called to something greater. He had never believed in destiny, but he couldn't deny the pull he felt toward the unknown. Sam didn't know how long he had been walking when he finally saw the faint glow of a fire in the distance. It was small at first, just a flicker of light, but it grew brighter as he neared. His curiosity piqued. Sam moved closer, carefully stepping over the rocks and brush. As he approached, he saw a figure sitting by the fire. The person was cloaked, the hood pulled low, hiding their face. The flickering light cast long shadows, making it difficult to see who it was. Sam instinctively reached for the rifle at his side, but something stopped him. The figure didn't seem threatening, and for some reason, Sam felt no fear. As he stepped closer, the figure turned, and for the first time, Sam saw the eyes. They were dark, intense, and familiar. The figure stood, and Sam's heart skipped a beat when he recognized her, the Apache woman from earlier. "I knew you would. Come," she said, her voice calm, as if she had been waiting for him all along. Sam stood frozen for a moment, unsure of what to say. He had so many questions, but the words seemed to get stuck in his throat. "Why?" he finally managed to ask. "Why me?" The woman smiled faintly, as though she had expected the question. "Because you are the one who is meant to see it," she replied. "The pendant, it is not just a gift. It is a key. And you, Sam Carson, are the one who will unlock its power." Sam's breath caught in his chest. He had felt it, the power, the pull. But he had never imagined it was meant for him, that he was meant to be part of something bigger. "What power?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The woman stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. "You will know soon enough," she said softly. "But you must be ready. The journey ahead will not be easy, and there are those who will stop at nothing to keep you from fulfilling your destiny. Sam felt a shiver run down his spine. He had no idea what she meant, but somehow, he knew she was telling the truth. He had always thought his life was simple, a quiet existence on the edge of the world. But now, everything had changed. And he was ready to face whatever came next. Sam stood in front of the woman, his heart pounding in his chest as her words echoed in his mind. You are the one who is meant to see it. Her voice was calm, but there was an undeniable authority in it, as though she knew something Sam did not. He had always been a man of few words, but something about her presence, about the pendant he still held in his pocket, made him feel like there was more to this world than the quiet life he had built for himself. The woman's dark eyes met his, and for a moment, Sam felt as though she could see right through him. What is it that I am supposed to see? Sam asked, his voice steady but uncertain. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached into the folds of her cloak and pulled out something that glinted in the firelight. It was a small, intricately carved stone, glowing with a faint, ethereal light. Sam's breath caught in his throat. This, she said, holding the stone out to him, is part of what you are meant to unlock. The pendant you carry is connected to it, as are you. Together they hold the power to change the future of this land. Sam felt a surge of confusion and curiosity. He had no idea what she meant, but something deep within him stirred, like a forgotten memory just out of reach. He stepped closer, reaching out to take the stone from her, feeling its warmth pulse in his palm as his fingers brushed against it. I don't understand, Sam admitted, his grip tightening around the stone. How am I supposed to unlock this power? I've lived my whole life in this desert, and now I'm supposed to change everything? The woman nodded, her expression softening. The world is changing, Sam, she said quietly. And so are you. The power within you, within that pendant, is not just meant for one man. It is meant for a people. Your people. The Apache. It's time for the truth to come to light, and for you to take your place in it. Sam felt a wave of disbelief wash over him. My place? He repeated. I'm a cowboy. I'm not part of your tribe. She stepped closer, her voice growing even softer. You may not be Apache by blood, Sam, but your heart, your actions, they have always been in line with the ways of my people. You saved me once, and now, you are part of something far greater than yourself. The time has come to embrace it. Sam's mind raced, and for a moment, he thought about turning back. He could easily retreat to his cabin, forget all of this, and live out his days in quiet solitude. But as he looked at the woman, at the stone she had given him, and at the pendant that had already begun to change him, he knew that wasn't an option anymore. The world, as she had said, was changing. And so was he. Where do I begin? Sam asked, his voice steady now, no longer filled with doubt. The woman smiled, her eyes filled with a sense of pride. You begin by taking the first step. Come with me. The journey ahead will be long, and you will face many challenges. But you are not alone. Sam nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle in his chest. For the first time in years, he felt something more than just the empty ache of loneliness. He felt purpose. The fire crackled between them, casting long shadows on the desert floor. As the woman turned and began to walk, Sam followed, the stone in his hand and the pendant against his chest, knowing that his life was no longer his own. The path ahead was uncertain, but Sam was ready to face it, whatever it might bring. The moon hung high above the desert, casting a soft glow over the landscape as Sam followed the Apache woman deeper into the wilderness. The air was cooler now, the desert night wrapping around them like a blanket, and the stillness was broken only by the distant rustling of dry grass. Sam felt the weight of the pendant against his chest, a constant reminder that his life was no longer the quiet existence he had known. The woman, whose name he still didn't know, walked ahead of him with purpose, her movements graceful and confident. She had not said much since their last conversation, but Sam could feel the gravity of her presence, as though she was waiting for something. Sam had questions, so many questions. But he knew better than to ask them all at once. He was beginning to realize that some answers could only be discovered through experience, not words. They walked for hours, the landscape around them shifting from rocky outcrops to stretches of open desert. Sam's boots sank slightly into the sand with each step, and his muscles ached from the long walk. But he didn't stop. There was something about this journey, something about the woman's quiet confidence, that made him feel like he was exactly where he needed to be. Eventually, they came upon a small, secluded canyon. The moonlight reflected off the smooth rocks, giving the place an ethereal, almost otherworldly feel. The woman stopped and turned to face Sam. "We are here," she said, her voice calm, but with an edge of anticipation. Sam looked around, taking in the beauty of the canyon. The cliffs rose high above them, and the sound of a distant stream reached his ears. There was a sense of peace in this place, a feeling of being far removed from the world they had just left behind. "What is this place?" Sam asked, his curiosity growing. The woman smiled faintly. "This is where it begins," she replied. "This is where you will unlock the power within you." Sam's heart raced. "Unlock the power?" he echoed. She nodded. "You carry the gift, Sam. But it must be activated. The journey you are about to undertake will reveal your true purpose. But first, you must understand who you are, where you come from." Sam felt a knot form in his stomach. "I thought I already knew who I was," he said, his voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. The woman's gaze softened. "You are more than just a cowboy, Sam. You have a history, a connection to the land and to my people. That connection is what makes you the one who can bring balance to the world. But you must accept it." Sam stood there, unsure of how to process what she was saying. He had never been one to believe in prophecies or destinies. He was just a man trying to survive in a harsh world. But the more he listened to her, the more he felt the pull of something greater than himself. The woman reached into her pouch and pulled out a small bundle wrapped in leather. She unwrapped it carefully, revealing a set of ancient tools, each one worn with age but still strong. "These are the tools of our ancestors," she said. "They will guide you on your journey. But you must be willing to trust in them." Sam took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. He had no idea what lay ahead, but he knew he could no longer ignore the path that had been laid before him. As the woman handed him the tools, he felt a sense of resolve settle over him. He was ready to face whatever came next. Together, they walked deeper into the canyon, Sam's mind racing with the possibilities of what the future held. The fire of determination burned within him now, stronger than any doubt he had ever known. He wasn't just walking into the unknown, he was walking toward his destiny. The air grew thick with the scent of earth and stone as Sam followed the woman deeper into the canyon. The walls of rock towered above them, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly. It was as though the land itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Sam's hand tightened around the bundle of tools the woman had given him, his mind still trying to grasp everything she had said. They walked in silence for a while, the sound of their footsteps muffled by the soft dirt beneath their boots. Sam's thoughts kept returning to the pendant in his pocket, its weight constant against his chest, reminding him that this journey was not just about him, it was about something much larger. The woman, whose name he still didn't know, moved with purpose, her eyes fixed on the path ahead. Sam's curiosity burned, but he didn't want to interrupt. He had learned long ago that silence often held more answers than words ever could. Eventually, they reached a narrow opening between the canyon walls. The woman stopped and turned to Sam, her gaze unwavering. "This is where it begins," she said quietly, as though she was speaking to herself as much as to him. Sam glanced around, unsure of what she meant. The canyon opened up into a small, hidden valley, the ground covered in soft grass that looked almost out of place in the harsh desert. In the center of the valley stood a large, weathered stone altar, its surface covered in symbols Sam couldn't understand. The air around the altar felt different, charged with a strange energy that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. "What is this place?" Sam asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. The woman stepped forward, her fingers brushing against the symbols on the altar. "This is the heart of it," she replied. "The place where the past and the future meet. The place where you will unlock the power within you." Sam took a step forward, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the weight of the moment, the sense that something monumental was about to happen. But what? He had no idea. "What do I need to do?" he asked, his voice uncertain. The woman smiled, a small, knowing smile that made Sam feel like she knew exactly what he was thinking. "You have already begun, Sam," she said softly. "You must place the pendant on the altar. It will do the rest." Sam hesitated, his fingers brushing the pendant in his pocket. He had been carrying it with him for so long now, never fully understanding its significance. But now, as he looked at the altar before him, something deep inside him told him it was time. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out the pendant. It felt warm against his skin, its energy pulsing with each beat of his heart. He walked to the altar and placed it gently on the stone surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a low hum filled the air, and the symbols on the altar began to glow, their intricate patterns shifting and changing before Sam's eyes. A sense of awe washed over him, and for the first time, he understood. This was it, the moment everything had been leading up to. The pendant, the journey, the woman, everything had been preparing him for this. Sam felt a rush of emotions flood through him: fear, excitement, uncertainty. He didn't know what came next, but he knew one thing for certain: he was ready. The woman stepped back, her eyes shining with pride. "You are ready now," she said, her voice filled with a quiet reverence. Sam nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he had never felt before. The power within him, within the pendant, was real. And it was time to use it. The canyon, the valley, the altar, they all seemed to fade away as Sam felt the pull of something much greater than himself. He was no longer just a man on a journey. He was a part of something bigger. And whatever lay ahead, he was ready to face it. As the glow from the altar faded, Sam felt a shift within him, a connection to something ancient and powerful. The symbols on the stone altar had stopped glowing, but the air around him still hummed with energy. His heart raced, and his breath caught in his chest. He had felt it, the power of the pendant, the pull of destiny that had guided him here. He wasn't just standing on this land anymore. He was part of it. The woman watched him with a steady gaze, her face unreadable. Sam turned to her, his voice shaking slightly as he spoke. "What happens now?" The woman smiled softly, as though she had known this moment would come. "Now you begin your journey, Sam. You have unlocked the first step. The power within you is not just for you alone. It's for the land, for the people, for the balance that has been lost. You are the one who will help restore it." Sam's mind was spinning. This was so much more than he had ever expected. He had thought the pendant was just some kind of token, something to be tucked away and forgotten, but now he knew it was something much larger. It was a key to something bigger than him, something that could change the world. "What do I do now?" he asked, his voice steadying as the weight of her words sank in. The woman stepped forward, placing her hand on the stone altar. "You must follow the path that is laid before you," she said. "The journey ahead will be long and filled with challenges. But you are not alone. The pendant will guide you, and the land will speak to you when you need it most. Trust in it, and trust in yourself." Sam nodded slowly, the sense of uncertainty still lingering but now tempered by a newfound resolve. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew he couldn't turn back now. This was his purpose. The woman turned, beckoning Sam to follow. "There is more to learn, more to understand," she said. "The world is changing, and you must be ready." Sam followed her as they walked deeper into the canyon. The stone walls rose on either side of them, their jagged edges casting long shadows across the valley floor. The air was cool and crisp, and the faint sound of water trickling in the distance echoed through the silence. It was peaceful, almost serene, but Sam could feel the weight of their mission bearing down on him. As they walked, the woman spoke again. You are not the first to carry the pendant, Sam. Many have come before you, but they were not ready. They could not see the truth. They did not understand the power they held. Sam looked at her, his curiosity piqued. What happened to them? The woman's eyes darkened slightly. They failed. They were unable to unlock the full potential of the pendant, and in doing so, they allowed the balance to slip away. But you are different. You will not fail. You will do what they could not. Sam felt a chill run down his spine. The weight of her words pressed heavily on him, but in that moment, he understood. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was about something much bigger than himself, something that could change the world for better or worse. They continued walking through the canyon, the landscape shifting as they moved. Sam could feel the ground beneath his feet shifting too, the weight of the journey settling on his shoulders. The woman led him to a small cave, its entrance hidden by a thick veil of ivy and vines. She stopped before it and turned to Sam. This is where your true journey begins, she said. Inside you will find what you need to take the next step. Trust in the pendant, trust in the land, and trust in yourself. Sam stood at the entrance of the cave, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he knew one thing: he was ready. He had to be. With one last glance at the woman, he stepped forward into the darkness of the cave, knowing that whatever came next would change everything. The journey had only just begun. As Sam stepped into the darkness of the cave, a cool breeze brushed against his face, carrying with it the scent of earth and something ancient. The air felt thick, as though the very walls of the cave were alive with secrets waiting to be uncovered. He paused for a moment, his eyes adjusting to the dim light. The cave was narrow at first, the walls close on either side, but as he ventured deeper, the space opened up into a large chamber. Stalactites hung from the ceiling like jagged teeth, and the floor was covered with smooth, cool stones that seemed to hum with energy. Sam's footsteps echoed as he moved further into the cave, his heart racing with anticipation. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but he knew it would come to him in time. The pendant in his pocket seemed to grow warmer with each step, its energy pulling him forward. He could feel it now, a presence, a force that seemed to guide him, to urge him onward. In the center of the chamber stood a large stone pedestal, and atop it rested an ancient book, its pages yellowed with age. The symbols on the cover matched those he had seen on the stone altar earlier. Sam approached the pedestal. Slowly, his hand reaching out as though drawn by some invisible force. As his fingers brushed the book's cover, a shock of energy coursed through him, and the room seemed to shift, the walls around him vibrating with power. He pulled his hand back, startled, but the book remained still, waiting. His breath steadying, Sam reached for it again, this time more deliberately. As he lifted the book, he felt a surge of knowledge flood his mind. Images flashed before his eyes, visions of ancient ceremonies, of Apache warriors, of lands long forgotten. He saw the earth itself, the sky, the wind, all moving in harmony, a balance that had once existed but had been lost. He saw his ancestors, the ones who had walked this land before him, their faces strong and proud. And then, just as quickly as the visions had come, they faded, leaving Sam breathless and disoriented. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to process what he had seen, but it was all too much, too overwhelming. When he opened his eyes again, he realized the cave had changed. The walls no longer felt cold and distant. Now they felt warm, as though the land itself had accepted him, as though the journey he had started was leading him to something greater. The book in his hands felt heavier now, its weight more than just physical. It was as if it carried the weight of his people's history, the weight of the land, the weight of the balance that had to be restored. Sam took a deep breath, steadying himself. He wasn't sure what the future held, but he knew that this was his purpose. The woman's words echoed in his mind. You are the one who will help restore the balance. He had thought his life was ordinary, just a man living on the fringes of the world, but now, with the book in his hands and the pendant around his neck, he knew that he was part of something much larger than himself. He could feel the responsibility weighing on him, but there was also a sense of power, of clarity. He had a purpose, a reason to be here. Sam looked around the cave once more, the energy of the place settling deep within him. He was ready for the next step, whatever it was. This was just the beginning. The path ahead was unclear, but he would walk it. He would learn, and he would fulfill the role he was meant to play. The earth had spoken to him, and now, it was time for him to listen, to act, and to lead. With the book and pendant in hand, Sam turned and left the cave, stepping back into the desert night, knowing that his journey had only just begun.